Hi guys, Dane here. It's at Stay and Play. Good to be back with you again this month. I recently was in a training session where I was working with my dogs and the other students were working with their dogs, and we were all doing our own thing for a while. And finally, one of the students I was working with, looked up at me and said, "Hey, do you ever say no to your dog?" The question took me back. I got to say, I'd never even thought about it like that. I because I think, well, I do say no to my dog. And she said, "I don't think I've ever heard you say no to your dog ever." And I thought, well, the reality is that I don't say no to my dogs very often, especially when we're training. I only do it when it's necessary, or when I absolutely know the dog knows and has exhibited over and over and over again what they're supposed to do. Under those circumstances, or in a safety situation, I might say no. Okay, definitely in a safety situation. But when I'm training, when I'm trying to teach my dog to do something new, no almost never enters my vocabulary because no's a negative. They say you can't prove a negative. You can't train a negative. You want to tell your dog, training is when you want to tell your dog what you want them to do. We're dealing with animals that don't speak our language and, quite frankly, interact with the whole world in a different way than we do. Have you ever paused and asked yourself the question, do I really need to use pain, fear, intimidation, or even force to teach my dog something? Well, doing that actually slows learning. I follow a philosophy in dog training that the training should be pain-free, force-free, and should be rewards based. Um, there's a mantra that I say to myself and say to students occasionally that is, reward the behavior you want, ignore the behavior you don't want. Well, we can't ignore all behavior. Of course, there are times we have to intervene and stop behaviors that we don't want, like when my youngest is in the backyard at midnight barking at who knows what in the shadows, and I know my neighbors are trying to sleep. Sometimes I've got to do what I have to do to stop the behavior. But when I'm training, I do follow that idea that I want to ignore the behavior I don't want, and then I want to reward lavishly the behavior that I do want. Tell your dog what you want them to do, not what you want them to not do. Let's look at some examples. If your dog is pulling you, do you say, "No, stop pulling," or do you call your dog to come to you? I would choose come to me. I'm telling them what I want them to do. If my dog is jumping up and down and jumping on me, or worse, that jumping on somebody else, do I say, "No, no, bad dog"? Or do I tell them to sit and to stay? If your dog is lunging, grabbing at food, it doesn't matter whether I'm carrying my dinner plate to the table or I'm getting ready to put their food down. Do you yell no? Or do you tell them to sit and to wait? And if the dog is focused on something totally distracting, you're walking along and you want to continue your walk, and they're over here and they're digging in the daisies. In the snow, we can imagine there's daisies under there someplace. Anyway, they're digging in the daisies. Do we say, "No, no, no"? Or do we say, "Watch me," and bring their attention back to us? Well, I'd argue if you really want to improve your relationship with your dog and increase your training, you want to always focus on the positive, on what you want them to do. And if they don't do it, whose fault is that? It's always our fault. Because if we put them in a situation that is too distracting, too scary, too annoying, that they can't do what we tell them to do, it means we haven't done enough training. Not that they're dumb or slow or defiant or stubborn, but we need to be doing more work to prepare them to be able to sit, stay, wait, pay attention to us, do a watch me, and any environment we may go to. Research shows that dogs learn best when they are reinforced for behavior rather than punished for misbehavior. And they learn better when they're given the opportunity to make a decision to do the right thing. So, training through a positive reward based behavior enables both of these things to happen. It does not remove structure, it improves learning, improves investment, improves thinking on the part of the dog. But it does mean that we have to be more patient and let go of our need for immediate gratification. I guarantee you, if you go out there and you get a dog right now and you tell it to sit, who's never been told to sit, that dog's going to look at you like, I don't know what you're saying, and go about their own business. And if you grab that collar and you push down on their rear end, that dog is going to sit faster than if you stand there patiently and you wait for them to give you focus and you guide them into the sit position and then you reward them lavishly when they choose to sit. They learn, oh, I get great rewards to that. Pushing them into place is going to give you faster, immediate results. Waiting for them to think about it, figure out what you want, and show you the behavior and get rewarded for it, that's going to be a dog who has a long-term investment in sitting when asked to sit and is more likely, much more likely to stay in place when we ask them to sit and to stay. So sometimes short-term, to give the dog a fair opportunity to think, has a mass amount of long-term rewards for our patients. So, forcing a dog to do something might work, and might use doing a lot of work in that sentence. To stop a behavior, it might work, but it does nothing to teach understanding, and it does nothing to teach a new behavior. But when we offer an alternative direction, when we offer training to sit when they want to jump, and they learn to sit even in the environments where they want to jump, then their investment in learning is made on the dog's part, and they're going to learn quicker and longer and better behaviors than being told no, 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 and then being forced to do what we want them to do. Studies have shown that reward-based training that is consistent is better. When we use force, stress levels go up, anxiety goes up, and the dog's willingness to work with us goes down. But when we use love and reinforcement and praise and positive feedback to the dog, we increase their emotional health, we increase their confidence in themselves, and we have a dog who's more engaged with us and more ready and willing to do the work we want them to do. So the next time you feel the urge to say or even yell no at your dog, ask yourself the question, what can I say that I want them to do instead of saying, no, don't do that? Find a positive, find a direction, find something you can train and teach them to do that you want them to do under those circumstances. And someday you might find yourself in a situation where somebody says to you, hey, do you ever say no to your dog? Because it's really not necessary in most instances of dog training. Have a good day. Give your dog lots of love, lots of rewards. Reward the behaviors you want. And when you can, ignore the behaviors you don't want. Take care.